My name is Keni Thacker. I always say it like together. That's the name my mom gave me, and I'm, pretty proud of it. Kenny is short for something else, but that's only what the police call me when I get pulled over, which I try not to get pulled over too often. But my name is Keni Thacker, and I've been a diversity advocate in advertising for 8 years. Next January will be 9 years that I've been doing this. And it's been great. It hasn't been easy. To be totally honest with you, it has not been easy, but it's been, it's filled my soul. Well, I've actually been in the industry 15 years, like going on 15 years. And I don't really have this like story of like being like getting into this industry like traditionally. So like I didn't do MAPE, I didn't do MGP, I didn't do AAF, any of those great organizations that I just mentioned. Like I did not have the opportunity to be a part of those organizations because I didn't know about those organizations. So literally I fell into this organization due to the fact that post college I did a lot of event technology work. So that's how I actually got in. So I started at Ogilvy as a freelancer in eye patch productions, but doing more of the event technology work. And I was only at Ogilvy for a short amount of time until at the time the company formerly known as J. Walter Thompson kind of hit me up. And I don't even think they're going by J. Walter Thompson at the time. They're going as JWT at the time. Hit me up and asked me if I was interested in a role there. And I didn't really even know what JWT was because I didn't really know much about advertising other than Ogilvy, because that was where I went for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 days a week. And I asked one of the admins there, I was like, hey, like this place called JWT, like hit me up. They say they're an advertising agency. What are they? They're like, oh, they're just like here, but older and bigger. I was like, oh, okay. So I went over there, trying to keep the story super short. Went over there, had an interview with my old boss. We kind of hit it off, and the rest is like history. I was there maybe a couple weeks later, and then for the first 5 years there, I was just like strictly concentrating on event technology. So like working with a new business team, working with the Exco committee, working with definitely the global CEO and his team, just making sure all their tech was like running right and everything like that. Subconsciously though, in the recesses of my mind, it was always like, there's not a lot of people of color here. But I was like, but just due to the fact that coming from event technology background post college and like working in those spaces, there was just never a lot of people of color around. So I just kind of accepted that. And I was never like, this is wrong or whatever. I was just like, oh, this is how it is. I'm supposed to be the only black guy here. I guess that's what it is. But during the end of, I guess, my first 4 or 5 years, I started like just volunteering, helping out with D&I initiatives from the former head of HR at the time. And I was like, this is kind of cool what she's doing, like trying to, celebrate people from different ethnic backgrounds, things of that nature, sexual preferences, all that stuff. I was like, this is kind of interesting. I could do this. Because just dating back to like, I guess me being a kid or whatever, I always knew I was creative, right? And I always knew that I cared about people. But I didn't know how to marry the two. So even thinking back to when I was a kid, and I didn't even realize this until I was actually at JWT at the time, that my mother was a copywriter for a brief time. But back then they called it writing jingles. You know what I mean? And she used to write jingles for one of her many careers in her very, very long life.
It's in your blood.
Yeah, so it was in my blood, but I never knew how to marry the two.
Yeah.
So until like I kind of saw this woman putting together these D&I initiatives, and then she up and left one day, she up and resigned, I was like, okay, who's gonna do this? Me and a friend of mine who's now leading diversity at another agency that I won't mention, we were like, well, why don't we just take over the D&I stuff? Why ask? Let's just take it over, but do it in a way that's educational, aspirational, encouraging, inclusive, and then wrap it with a big bow of retention and recruitment at the same time. So we just kind of went rogue. We spoke to the general manager of JWT at the time, and she was like, yeah, do whatever you want to do. But yeah, because there's no one here to kind of because when this woman left, she didn't really like pass the baton to anyone, and no fault of her own. It just kind of didn't happen. So we kind of kicked it off after the first project. Unfortunately, my partner found a new job, and then it was kind of up to me, like, am I going to continue on this path, or am I just going to let it go? And something told me to continue. I don't know what it was, because I knew it was a lot of work, and I still had my day job to do, but I was like, you know what, let's keep it going. And that turned into like 9 different programs, events, content. Everything definitely had content, since I was still like, techie a little bit, but then creative, and then turned into a producer, then a writer, then a director, all in a matter of, like, I would say 4 years. All that kind of transformed, and we were doing great stuff, not only internally but externally. We were working with colleges, we were working with high schools and things of that nature, just kind of bringing like this own, like, non-traditional approach. Man, Young Commodores is like my second child. It was a full advertising business experience for young multicultural students in college and high school. That basically they'd be with us for about 8 weeks, and they'd work on a nonprofit client that addresses issues that affect multicultural young people. So that's what it was. It was, like I said, it's like my second child. I mean, Izzy first, YC second, but like, dude, even talking about it is almost like talking about my daughter, because it just puts a smile on my face. Over the last 3 years, we put a good 46 young people in and out of the program, and right now we have about 10 just like killing it in the industry right now at different agencies across the city. And my whole reasoning behind the Young Commodores was also, past conversations that I had with like recruiter friends of mine and things of that nature. And it's like, oh, it's just so hard to find talent of color out there. And this is before I created Young Commodores. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, and now I have to mention organizations, but there's the MAPES, there's the MATs, there's the MGPs, there's AAF, Most Talented Multicultural Student stuff. There's organizations out there. So I'm just like, what the hell are you talking about? There's organizations that have been doing, MAPE has been doing it longer than I've been alive, like 46 years. So it was just like, what are you talking about? So through those conversations and them saying, well, candidates of color, sometimes they don't have the right tools. And I was like, they don't have the right tools. So in a year that I was taking a break from my D&I, believe it or not, Keni took a break from D&I. I had this idea, like, kind of jingling in my head, and I was like, I don't know, I'm on my break right now. I had launched Create, and everything like that. Me and my partners launched Create, and we were doing stuff, putting out 2 shows at that time on YouTube and on streaming TV. So we were busy, but this idea was just like jingling in my head, and I couldn't get it out. And then I went to the Cannes Festival in France, and I came back from the Cannes Festival in France, and I was just like, what did I just experience? And just the whole experience, it was a multi-sensory experience, the Cannes Festival. If you ever have a chance to go, you'll feel it. It's a multi-sensory kind of experience. And when I got back, I was a little ticked off, because I was like, because I just didn't see us. But I came back and I was so ticked off. The only brother that I knew there, I bumped into at the airport in France. We were checking our bags coming home. And that was my response to that, because I was like, well, you know what? These recruiters are saying that these young people don't have the right tools. So I was like, well, I'm going to invent a program that gives them the right tools to be successful in advertising, but not just successful in advertising, but successful in life as well. That's always a very big thing to me. Like I said, like my daughter first, Young Commodore second. I want them both to be great human beings. And I think that's a key part of the program, is that I want them to be great human beings. So that's why every year for the past 3 years, the Young Commodores worked on a nonprofit client that addressed issues that affect young kids of color in particularly. So not only are they learning the business side of it and the creativity side of it, but they're also learning that we have to fix our communities ourselves. No one's really gonna help us, and be genuine about it. One thing that I was big on, especially during my beginning days in the diversity and inclusion space, was always have an aspect where we either brought somebody up from the community and like gave them a chance to tell their story. Like that was always big to me. The communities because we sell products to all these communities, right? So why aren't we like in those communities and like, I mean, I know we're not Jordans, we're not the sexy, brand. We're not Apple. We're not, Doritos or whatever, but we are making that work. So it's important for people in these communities kind of know who we are. So there was always something definitely in the communities that we were doing during those first couple years that I was doing the D&I work. Yeah, and the thing is, we were bringing those people into the office to kind of see what the office looks like, but also have opportunity to tell their stories, regardless if they were black, white, Asian, whatever. Like we were bringing them into the agency to kind of share their experiences. So one, we can think better when we make work. Well, handling it, I don't think like I really had a choice. I just knew it was something I had to do. Not to get religious on here, but like sometimes you just hear God talking, and he was like, you need to do this. And because I grew up in the 90s, I went to college in the 90s, went to high school in the 90s. So, I was kind of grew up, on the Sean Puffy Combs Dame Dash school of just get that money. Yeah. But after a while, like it's not about that. There's so much more to life than just money. So with doing this work, it kind of gave me a chance to give back. Back in the recess of my mind, I always wanted to give back, but I wanted to figure out a way to make sure that it was almost like building like a legacy per se. And I just wanted to do something that was going to affect more people than just me. So not concentrating on money, because money only like kind of helps me pay my bills, but more give something that teaches people things and like lets us understand each other better. I think that's always been a really big thing for me. So on top of like the day job, this just became just as important as the day job. Sometimes I feel like it was more important than the day job. At least to me it was. And that's why like I gave like 110% to everything that I did. And I was the financier, I was the writer, I was the director, I was the janitor, I was the booking agent, I was everything. But I didn't mind, that heavy load on my shoulders, because like I knew it was for a greater good. It was bigger than me. It was way bigger than me. And I think once I realized it was bigger than me, like doing like two roles, one that I didn't really make any money off of, and I wasn't even looking for it at the time. It was just bigger than me. I took a break because I was getting tired. Because it's like all those hats for one little head. It wears you out. And there was a little bit of friction between the agency and myself on maybe where they thought D&I should go in respect to what I was doing. So I was kind of like, okay, well, I'm already tired and nobody was helping me out during these first couple years anyway. I'm gonna take a break and see what y'all do. There wasn't much done. So that's when, like I said, launched Create, went to Cannes and everything like that. The idea of NYC was in my head. But due to the fact that nothing on the scale that I was doing was really happening, made me squirmy. And I couldn't sit still. So I had to get off the bench. I always tell people I got off the bench. And then I penned, YC. And I had some doubts. I was kind of doubting myself a little bit. I was like, I don't know if I've been on the bench for like a year. I've been like, producing content and stuff like that. But I was like, I've been on the bench for a year. I haven't done anything in this building in like a calendar year. But I was like, this idea though, it can't lose. So I reached out to a couple school administrators locally here in the city that knew my work and everything like that. I was like, you think I can pull this off? And I was like, you're Keni Thacker. Of course you can pull it off. I was like, you goddamn right I am. And that was like the birth of it. So I pitched the idea to the chief creative officer at the time, Asian brother. So he understood the message and everything like that. I did not pitch the idea to human resources. I pitched it to the chief creative officer because it's a diversity initiative, but it's a creative diversity initiative. So I pitched it to him. He totally got it. He was like, get me a PDF of this tonight. I did. He took it to a manager's meeting. I had funding within about 2 weeks. During the break, I said, if I ever come back to this in this organization, I want it to be bigger than anything I've done in the last couple years, last 4 years. I was like, I want it to be huge. So I was thinking big. I was like, because if I want it to be so big, I don't have to do all that other stuff. I don't have to do Black History Month. I don't have to do Latino hair. I don't have to LGBT. I don't have to do Women's Month. I don't have to do anything because the focus is solely on this. So that was my aspirations, and those were my goals, and I met them. I pushed myself to meet those goals because that's how important I wanted that experience to be for these young people. And I pushed myself, and I had like my small little band of misfits that kind of helped me out. But everything from the money to the ideas to writing the questions on the application, that all came from me. To reading the application, still all came from me. So from soup to nuts, I was like kind of like the principal and the janitor. I was everything because that's how important it was to me. 100 Roses came actually at the very end it came to me in the middle of this summer while Young Commodores was going on. And this summer, I was very proud that Young Commodores was about 98% females of color. So that, I was kind of like, and I was telling everybody, I was like, yeah, 98% females of color, we're doing it, and they were working on a female brand that was Black. So I was on my high shit. But in a conversation I had with someone, they were like, but what about the brothers? And that's all that person had to say. And I was like, watch what I'm about to do. And then literally, within days, I penned what I wanted 100 Roses from Concrete to be. I was like, I wanted to be a network of men of color in advertising, marketing, media, and PR to kind of do this peer-to-peer mentorship kind of thing, because we don't always know where the rest of us are, because in most offices, we're one of one, or we're one of 3 or 4. But you think you're the only because you're the only in your department. So it was a matter of us kind of finding each other and just caring for each other and maybe giving each other advice and things of that nature. So that's why I made it, because Lord knows I was the only Black dude in my department for a while, and then I had another brother, but then he left after a while. So the great thing about the Roses is that they're from all different levels of expertise. We got brothers that have 0 years of experience up to brothers that have over 20 years experience. So we got the neophytes, and then we got the OGs. You know what I mean? They're old heads that can kind of break us down the game. That's why I created it, because one, I just know a lot of great brothers like yourself, and I know a lot of great brothers, but we all don't work together, man. Imagine if we all work together. Oh my God. I don't know. Maybe it's my obligation. Maybe it's a calling. I don't know. But I just needed to do it. And obviously it's based off the Tupac poem, The Rose That Grew from Concrete, because I can only speak as being a man of color. It's literally trying to grow from concrete to succeed in this business. Roses, flowers, gardening, it needs to be watered, but we don't get that water like some of our counterparts, or that light, like anything to help you grow. We don't get a lot of those, and when we do, it's one-offs, it's here and there, or it's not at all. So screw that. If they're not gonna recognize our talent and recognize our greatness and recognize our dopeness, we're gonna do it for ourselves. Yeah. Create is great. Create is a diversity-centric production company I started during my break. And basically, it was just kind of amplifying voices from all different types of backgrounds, white included. So, because once I got feedback, someone was like, "Oh, you don't have white people on Create." I was like, "Yes, I do. You just haven't seen the episodes." But it's basically been people from a variety of different industries just doing really, really cool stuff, but also tying it in with some diversity-centric type of commentary on why it's so important. So that's what Create has been. I mean, when we started, we had two shows. We had Create TV, in which I'd interview all these really cool people around the city, and then we had Love Stories, which was stories about non-traditional type of couples. So couples that may be interracial, but then we had same race couples as well, kind of talking about how they make their relationships work over time, space, and ethnic differences. Also Create TV, Birth Henny with Keni, which is, our podcast. And, this first season, we did about 30 episodes. 30 episode. Bold Culture is definitely on there. I think it's a two-part.
It's a 2 hour.
Yeah, it's a two-part. But it's all about lifting these voices to kind of speak their truth about the diversity deficiencies in different industries. So just with Create TV, Henny with Keni, it's not strictly marketing, media, and PR people. I mean, I've had actors, I've had musicians, I've had fashion people, the guy that makes my glasses. I've had, hip hop advocates for the Smithsonian. So it's been a variety of voices, but all voices that at the end of the day are about the mission, that are dope as fuck. And that's all that really matters to me. But they care about people, and they care about where our people are going, in the next, 50, 100 years. So that's what Create was about, and will always be about. It's about elevating the voices of people of all different types of backgrounds and walks of life, to kind of give them that platform to say what the hell they want. Because on Henny with Keni, he's sipping that Henny. So stuff comes out, and we give toasts, but then we don't give toasts, right? Yeah. So we shout out people that are trash. Because people that are trash need to know that they are trash. So, we give toast to those that are kind of doing great things, but we don't give toast, and we hold the Henny back for people that are trash, because that's the show.
Check it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. We have a lot of fun. And, maybe season 2 will start January. Don't quote me.
Absolutely. Don't quote him, but check out the 30 episodes because they were perfect. Keni, we went through a lot, but I think that the basis is your mission is always representation, having a voice. And
that's
also
important.
Training and learning and development.
Yeah. I mean, training is definitely a big part of it, because I think one thing I always tell people, or wherever I speak, or whatever the case may be, that this diversity thing is a constant reflective process, and we have to evolve. So it's never going to be perfect, and it's not about us wanting it to be perfect, but just a matter of us continuing to grow. So don't think, oh, well, finally my agency is 45% people of color and whatever else, 65% white folks. Oh, we finally cracked it. We got it right. We're the best at this. No, that's not the answer. Because if you say that, then brothers like us, we're gonna come after you and be like, so where in that 45% are there leaders? Are they in the middle? Or is that 45% is 85% of those people junior? Because if that's, you're full of shit. So nah. So it's about, kind of calling people out, but continuing to tell them that, this is a constant reflective and evolving thing. And it's going to take a while, but, it's going to get there eventually, because these young kids, they don't want to work at places that are kind of so homogeneous and everything like that. Even though the reins of power, they're not trying to let that go, but we're not trying to tell you to let go of your power. We're just trying to tell you to make room. That's it. And I have to quote one of my Twitter friends, Lexi Alexander. She said, inclusion is creating an environment for people to succeed. And I believe that. You can't talk about it if you're not giving them an environment where they can succeed. Just giving them an environment and giving them a job doesn't mean you want them to succeed. It's giving them an environment to succeed. So it's just like we spoke about just like a couple minutes ago. It's watering, you need sun, add that fertilizer, to help them grow. It's not just like putting them on that concrete and then expecting them to grow without anything. That's bullshit. It's giving them that environment to succeed. That's what inclusion is to me, and that's what it will always be to me.